Welcome to Married to an Angel, where we share the principles for an angelic marriage. Here is Reverend Dr. Stephen and Reverend Lorna Mendoza.
Hi, welcome to Married to an Angel. I'm so glad that you can tune in with us today. We are so happy today to be here with you, and I really pray God's blessings upon this program, and we pray God's blessings upon you and your family. Today we want to have a nice time with you, and we want to deal with trust today. So before we deal with that, let me introduce to you my husband, Reverend Stephen Mendoza.
Thank you, Lorna. Well, as she said, we are dealing with trust today, and that is a very important topic that we see in a lot of marriages that has not been addressed in many even of the books that we have read.
Mm-hmm.
And we find it very important to deal with because it is an underlying foundation, as it were, a bedrock for love.
Yes.
Before we start, we keep wanting to thank you for tuning in, for liking us on Facebook, viewing us and subscribing on YouTube. We really want to thank you for that. But so we want to ask you to send it to your friends. Send it to all and sundry, so that they would benefit from what we are sharing today. Once you find this is good, please share it and let your friends know. So let's talk a bit about trust.
What really is trust?
Well, trust is confidence reposed in, reliance on, and faith in some quality of a person or a thing.
Mm-hmm.
Trust is based on truth. So let me pause there about first it is confidence that you place in or relying on a person or a thing. And the easiest example that have been used for trust is the chairs that we're sitting on.
Okay. Yeah.
In fact, this has been even used for faith. For people to describe faith, sometimes we have faith in a chair, that when we put all our weight on it, it wouldn't fall apart and we wouldn't damage ourselves.
Yes.
Well, can you say the same thing? We trust this chair. We trust our cars.
Yes.
It is moving at a high speed. Let me show you about, take for example, we trust our cars. You know, if you go in a wheelbarrow, and let's say I'm pushing you with the wheelbarrow, if we start to go at a certain speed, you will get scared.
Of course.
You will say, oh, Stephen.
Yes.
Don't do that because you trust me up to a certain point with this vehicle. But if I am driving a vehicle, I would go faster than the wheelbarrow and you would express trust or, in me, you repose trust in me at a certain speed. Right. If I start to exceed a certain speed limit, then you would start to lose trust.
Become
then
fearful.
You become fearful. Then you say, oh my God, Stephen, this is too far.
Yes.
But if you go in an airplane that is flying at a speed 5 times, 10 times what in that vehicle, and you're not even feeling the speed, yet you repose trust in that pilot.
Correct.
See, because we are giving over our lives, our heart to someone else, that is why trust is important. And so in the same way, when it comes to love, when it comes to marriage, trust is very important because we are giving our hearts to our wives, to our husbands.
So trust is based on truth. Therefore, whatever you told your spouse to win their confidence and belief in you form the foundation of their love for you. Trust is the catalyst for love to grow and become strong.
Yes.
That catalyst, I think about chemicals. When a farmer would put chemicals into his crops, it gives that strength and that growth. You understand? So that catalyst, therefore, is a substance that speeds up the chemical reaction, but it is not consumed by the reaction.
Yes. So it is creating an environment. See, so the catalyst created an environment for this chemical reaction. And we are saying truth creates the environment for us to trust and for love to grow.
Yes.
So the opposite of truth, of course, is lie.
Mm-hmm.
So if a person lies, it does not create, as it were, the environment for
Correct.
trust. You are afraid to trust.
Yes.
You are afraid to love because there was not that catalyst for trust. You see, truth is the catalyst for trust.
Right.
And then, of course, love and trust and everything will go hand in hand.
So trust allows you to open your heart and become vulnerable to your spouse. Therefore, without trust, there is no peace of mind.
Oh, that is well said. Without trust, there is
my
no
God,
peace of mind.
I know what it is not to have peace of mind. It's not an easy thing because if you don't have peace, your mind strays. You're so unstable in your thoughts.
Yeah.
You're thinking all sorts of things at the same time. So there's no peace. You cannot sleep well. You suffer with anxiety. You're stressful. You become frustrated because there's no peace.
And when there is no peace of mind, as you mentioned, that we are consumed with these thoughts
Yes.
of what our spouses are doing
Correct,
in our
yes.
absence. See? And so
Wow.
when you don't have trust, I tell you, that's a fearful place to be.
It certainly is.
And so what we plan to share with you over these weeks coming is why it is so important to build trust. And then we'll also talk about the things that affect trust. So today we want to talk a little bit about jealousy and how it affects trust. So give me a little help in how you define jealousy.
Okay, so jealousy is a complex emotion that encompasses feelings ranging from suspicion to rage to fear to humiliation. It strikes people of all ages, genders, and sexual orientations, and is most typically aroused when a person perceives a threat to a valued relationship from a third party.
That is as clear as we can get it. So it is suspicion, an arousal of suspicion.
Yes.
Especially when we believe a third party is involved with this person who we love. In this case, we, of course, dealing with jealousy with regard to spouses.
Right.
But it mentioned that jealousy knows no gender.
No.
It knows no age. We have seen siblings jealousing one another based on how
yes.
parents hug the other, and sometimes you can see rage and we know it's jealousy. So jealousy really and truly is an emotion that we have, but that God gave it to us. We get it from since we're born. Now, what we have to learn to do is to manage this jealousy.
I remember even with my 3 girls, when they are putting their phone numbers, when they put their phone numbers on my phone, I told them, put whatever name you would like me to acknowledge you by. So I didn't put Rebecca or Rachel or Isabella.
The names that I got divinely from God to name my children. Name this one Rebecca. Name this one Rachel. Yes.
Yes. So Rebecca named herself prized possession, Rachel favorite child, and then Isabella chosen one. So I allowed them to choose the names that they wanted, because maybe if I had chosen names for them, they would have gotten jealous and they would have feel that, maybe I like this one more than. So I allowed them to put their own names. So I know
Yes.
how jealousy is.
And when they do say, Daddy, I'm your favorite child. I say, once you say it, you are right.
Isabella will call me secretly, I am the favorite. I said, okay. If you think so, Mommy, speak the truth, and I am the favorite.
So we can see that jealousy runs through the human race.
All of us, yes.
Right? So it is not a white people, black people, male, female thing. It affects a whole human being.
True.
We even saw in the scripture that God himself gets jealous. Scripture describes him as a jealous God.
Yes.
So we want to talk about that in the context of marriage. And as I said before, we many of the books that we have read, because what we come to you with here in Married to an Angel, it is very eclectic. We would have read hundreds of books, put them together, and share with you what we would have learned. We would have interviewed people, share with you what we would have learned, our own experience, so that it's coming with a wealth of knowledge. But we found that trust wasn't dealt with a lot. So we have given it a special topic that we could address. Because we always have to deal with this infidelity and suspicion, and and you would have thought that in the context of church, you might not have had to address this, but it is as real as can be. True. Because it poses a problem in the church.
And people really like to admit that they are jealous. And this is because they categorize their emotion only with extreme cases where jealousy results in fights, constant nagging, unrelenting suspicion, and accusations, or worse yet, the death of a spouse or a former lover.
Right. So when people say you're jealous, they think only of these
extreme cases.
Yes. And not realizing that if a child get jealous and a child not thinking to kill,
we all need a little form of jealousy in our lives.
Yes.
Because sometimes, how would your spouse know that you really love them?
Well, that is a real good point. And so let's put that into a real context.
Right. Okay.
As I mentioned, if a child can show jealousy, it means that it is from God.
Right.
That we were made with this emotion, right? So the question is, how do you balance it? But I always remember this couple that we had joined in marriage. And I remember the wife coming to complain at one point in time. Pastor, my husband allows me to go with any meal, anywhere, anytime. If they call, if he never comments and even ask, who is that? He never says, how long, how come I'm talking to this person so long?
Wow.
Even if they call me in the night, he has nothing to say. When she raised it, he said, well, I trust you. But it did turn out, that he was of a different sexual orientation. So really and truly, that relationship was a facade.
Yes.
It was a facade. It was only a front to cover up, really and truly. So he didn't care. Now, I am saying jealousy really, and tell me that I love you plenty, because I can suffer with the spirit of jealousy.
Yes.
But I, as a man, I done draw certain lines with you already. I say, Lorna, I do, I'm a preacher. It doesn't look good that preacher have cutlass and gun and all kind of thing in the waist. So instead of putting me through that, let's talk some parameters here. Let me show you some boundaries so that I wouldn't have to step into this emotion. I wouldn't have to go through this.
Yes.
And then you would have shared with me some things. You say, these are your boundaries, Stephen. You can flip in these boundaries. You can do one within these boundaries. Because we say when you go outside of these boundaries, we are causing problems. It's like when I tell you when the wheelbarrow was trying to run at a certain speed, I was going out of the parameters of which you would trust me.
Right.
If I started to drive too fast, I'm going out of the parameters in which you would trust me as a driver. It's the same way when we live, we actually give each other these parameters that would make us feel comfortable when we relate with somebody of the opposite sex. Yeah?
So that uncomfortable feeling you get deep down in your stomach when you see your spouse embracing someone of the opposite sex, or if you find that he or she is talking too long with a person, is in essence jealousy.
So that feeling, you
right?
see.
So that feeling, and I think there's nothing wrong in having that feeling, because your spouse will know, hey, you're watching me.
Yes.
You're looking out for me. So you're feeling a little jealousy. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. If I were to tell my husband, I find you're talking a little too long with that individual, and he would check himself, but he will know, hey, my wife is looking out for me. That's how you have to look at it. Not that there are some people might take it for the negative and say, oh, you're always listening to my conversation on the phone and you keep walking around wherever I go. Some people might take it to
Well,
the
of course,
extreme.
of course, we want to also discuss
We will
later
deal with
on
that.
with the extreme or what we would
but
call
for
a
now,
jealous spirit.
But
Yes.
for now, we are dealing with jealousy that should not pose a problem.
Yes.
Jealousy that would show that, hey, I love my husband and I have feelings for you, and there are things that you do that affects me. Inside of me, I'm feeling that I probably cannot explain, but it is jealousy.
And so this jealousy is protective in nature. It is to protect this relationship that God has given to you. It is to protect that. See, so that, according to you, that feeling that you get on the inside, it is to protect that. And so we want to even take it a little more. And we say it is not uncommon to hear wives complain that their husbands always seem to have problem to take them out for leisure time.
Right.
Take, for example, so a wife would say, darling, it's a long time we haven't gone to a restaurant.
Yeah.
And then he will sometimes make an excuse, girl, I don't have the time and I don't have the money and all kind of excuses that he's making when she wants to go out, even with the family or even by herself with a date. But sometimes if he's called by a friend,
Yes.
so he not too long told her he's not available and he can't afford time and he can't afford money. And a friend calls, and next thing you see him dressing.
Wow.
And she asks, where are you going?
That's trouble.
Yes. So now it may not even be a friend of no opposite sex or anything.
No, right.
It might be a very platonic friendship, but she starts now to jealous this friend because he is getting more out of her husband instead of what she as the wife supposed to be getting. As we say in our vow, you render unto us what is rightfully due a husband from a wife, or what is rightfully due a wife from a husband. So she was not getting her due.
Right.
But someone else is getting that. Another friend is getting that.
Yes.
So she may start to say, well, it seems as though you like John more than me. And he may say, what nonsense you talking, woman? What are you suggesting here? She's not suggesting anything really. It's that she's jealous. Right. And she's saying, I am not getting my due.
Yes.
So once a spouse is not getting their due attention, you would find that they were jealous.
Yes.
And once a spouse is satisfied with what is due them, then you will realize that you have much more freedom to relate with people because your spouse is getting their needs met.
What about even sometimes they may jealous the jobs that your spouses have because of the time they are spending on work, or even sometimes not just spending so much time on work, but also to bringing the work home.
So you,
that can be
you
overwhelming.
Work home, you work on your job and you come back again and you're consumed at home. So there's no time for the family. So she was all day she feel neglected. Or he's also feeling neglected because, again, when you come home now, your bosses are calling you all hours of the night as though you don't have a cutoff time.
Right.
So now when your spouse comments and it seems as though they are upset, it's a form of jealousy.
Yes.
And they say, so your boss doesn't know it is 8 o'clock now that you're having family time? And sometimes they're upset when also you don't tell your bosses or you don't tell your friend, not now. You don't even have to explain, I'm having time with my family. Sometimes you just don't take the call.
Exactly.
Just don't take the call.
Not to take the call.
And tell your husband, we'll finish dinner and,
spouses, they're afraid to tell their bosses, don't call me, because they may feel that, their job.
have no money.
Exactly.
Listen, you have to know when you're with your spouse, you must give her quality time. She would understand. But if for her, I am not even good enough to get quality time, then you would find her jealousing you with anybody, jealousing you with your job, jealousing your computer, jealousing everything that seemed to be getting your attention. Some people jealous the TV and all.
Yes.
Because whatever is getting your attention instead of your spouse, it would create problem.
Amen. So jealousy is not at all bad.
Yes.
It's like anger and fear. They are not bad. Anger is given so that we can express how we feel when something causes us displeasure, or anger generates a level of energy to motivate us to overcome our obstacles.
Yes. And fear is given for self-preservation. Without it, we would expose ourselves to unnecessary dangers and life-threatening situations. We would have no regard for safety. So it is different from a spirit of fear.
Yeah, exactly.
We are talking about
Exactly.
these are like emotions that God put in
to bring
us
control.
to bring that level of control.
I just want to share, when we talk about fear, anger. We'll get to fear just now, but anger. I remember many years ago when I may have spoken or shared with you sometime in our sessions before. I remember having this old barrel as a TV stand,
Yes,
right?
yes.
And I sat in my drawing room there, my living room, and I said, I am just fed up of seeing this barrel. And I got so angry now, not to the stage where I could sin. It wasn't at that level, but I got so angry seeing it that it being there wasn't causing me to move forward, to get something better. It wasn't encouraging me to get something better. And I wanted something better, but we feel comfortable. Sometimes we feel so comfortable with the old that we just lay back and we see no reason to get something new. And I got angry a day. I say, you see you? I do not want you in my living room again. I am going to move you out. And I remember taking up that barrel and throwing it down the hill because I was so angry because I wanted something better, but there it was. And I was just so comfortable with it. So that anger wasn't to make me sin, but it was to bring some sort of pleasure.
As you say, to motivate you to get rid of an obstacle.
Exactly.
It's like being fed up of poverty.
Yeah.
You get fed up of poverty. So you get angry, but you can just be angry with poverty and do nothing about your wealth.
Correct.
And then all of a sudden you will start to become depressed. But this anger is also designed to motivate you to become better.
Yes.
With your situation. See, so you have to understand the differences and how to use these emotions that God has given to you. And we will come back to fear.
Yes.
Now, there's a reason why they tell us how to look on left,
correct,
look to the right before we cross roads. Why? Now, they're not telling you be fearful. They're telling you that little fear that you have inside, if you don't have it, you will just cross the street and don't care.
Exactly.
And you will be deceased.
Exactly.
Something will just kill you because they will say you were not using safety measures. It is, as a matter of fact, the whole safety industry. They look at areas where a person can harm themselves. And it is that same level of fear.
Yes.
So when you are climbing scaffolding up to a certain level, they say you must have a harness.
Right.
See, so that level of fear would have brought safety measures. So you understand the balance? And why not every time you just can't say, all fear is bad. No,
I mean, it's like
phobia is bad.
Yes.
So it's not all fear is bad. You have to understand. And so we're saying jealousy falls into the same context, that jealousy is given as a form of protecting what you cherish.
Correct.
Protecting this relationship,
Correct.
protecting this love, and things that look like a threat.
Yes.
It will, as you mentioned, this bad feeling that you get down in your stomach. You say, this is signaling to me. And sometimes you talk to yourself and say, because we would talk about when jealousy is overboard and it is a problem.
Right.
But this is signaling you, and then you have to ask yourself, why am I feeling this feeling?
Right.
Why am I feeling this? Is it justified or not justified? Because there are times when you get this feeling, then when you just have to let it go, because it may not be justified.
True.
Because sometimes there are people who jealous things that should not be jealous.
True.
There are fathers who jealous their mothers and the relationship they are having with their children.
Yes.
That is everybody's children. Your children, her children, but when they relate nice to the mother, you are very upset. You are jealous. You shouldn't be jealous in a relationship your spouse have with their children.
Yes,
but
true.
sometimes you see that and you have to question yourself, is this justified? So certain things you question when you get this feeling. Not every time you get this feeling, you need to lash out and talk about it and bring it up, because now you might be accused of being a jealous person,
Right.
obsessive with this relationship, that a person cannot have a freedom to go and to talk to anybody else or to relate with anyone else.
True. So I believe that jealousy, it is given to protect our spouse and our union from suspect characters. Overdone, however, jealousy can result in real problems for the marriage.
Yes, can real problems. So trust, therefore, brings the balance that is necessary in marriage. As I was saying, we have to bring this balance. And if you want to develop trust in your marriage, you have to speak the parameters, the boundaries that you would allow the relationship of your spouse with other people. The allowed relationship with other people, of course, because you can't live in an eggshell there. But you must have your own boundaries. We are counselors, but we have cutoff times. We have cutoff times. When phone calls come, it's not a case of you running in a toilet and talk. If you go and close a door in the washroom and you're talking soft and you're all and you're whispering, then you're creating suspicion. And so you have to have boundaries that our spouses can relate to other people and you feel comfortable with. Otherwise, I tell you, I've seen trust issues gone overboard, and it is so terrible. Sometimes we see men and their wives, let's say, walking down High Street, San Fernando, one of our cities in the South. In fact, only city in the South in Trinidad. And sometimes we have seen friends who you might have gone to school with might just hail your wife. Hi, Jennifer. And you might not have seen this person because with school, sometimes you don't see people for years. Probably a good 15 years. And this wife might just respond, hey, John, haven't seen a long time. And your face might glow a bit. This glow on your face. And your husband, yours glow, his got dark. It was as though cloud came over him and lightning started to strike. And while you're walking, he stopped talking. He vexed. He can't breathe again. And then when you come a little close, he say, and who was that? Oh, man, hailing you, girl. And he can't even cut his teeth crying like that. And she said, no, that was a friend I didn't see in 15 years. You didn't see in 15 years? And why your face glow like that? Poor woman. Didn't even know her face glow.
Wow. And
we have seen that. And I've seen, and sometimes, not actually saw, but I saw this already. And we have heard it in our counseling session. And so sometimes the man would hold his wife's hand and squeeze it to show her disapproval with her hailing anybody. So there are some who cannot even hail their cousins. They cannot stop to talk to anybody because of this obsessive behavior and jealousy by their spouses. And that creates a problem that, let me tell you something, no spouse can really mitigate for such a level of jealousy that spouses have no freedom to talk to anybody. Do you know, I have actually told women, do not call my name regular in your house. Please. There is a song say the name Jesus. Say the name of Jesus. Sorry, I'm hurting some of your ears. Don't be calling Pastor Stephen's name much in your mouth. You would create jealousy in your home.
Amen.
Because I am a next man. You see?
Amen.
And if my wife is calling another man name regular in the car, I don't care if she put the word bishop in front. I don't care if she put apostle in front. I am just hearing this apostle name too much in my home. Understand?
Draw the line.
Draw the line. Set boundaries so you can have freedom within boundaries.
And also, I just want to add, spouses must be free to tell each other when they feel jealous. They must be able to do that. They must be free to say, I'm feeling something when I see you with this person or when I see you with that person, or when you're talking too long. They must be free to express their jealousy, and you in return mustn't say, girl, get rid of that stupid feelings, eh? No. You deal with it. You realize, hey, my wife is feeling uncomfortable or my husband is feeling uncomfortable. And let me reassure you and comfort you that there's nothing at all to worry about.
That's such an excellent point. I think we should actually bring up this a little more in our other topic.
Yes.
Because one of the things that I believe that is important to keep in home are meetings. I believe it is important to
Yes.
have meetings. Important to say, I need to talk to you about something.
Yes.
Create the atmosphere, let the children go to sleep or whatever, but
Right,
create an
yes.
atmosphere where you can express this deep concern that you have. And we really don't expect a spouse to say, you're talking stupidness or you're being foolish. No,
Yes.
we want you to take what we are saying seriously. It may be unfounded, but remember, this is a feeling that we got on the inside, and we would ask that you would help regarding this.
Because sometimes you may feel embarrassed to let your spouse know that you are jealous.
Yes.
Because they will think, hey, something wrong with you, So sometimes we feel embarrassed. So it is good that we are free to share how we feel about you so that we can have a free flow of communication and a healthy relationship.
Wonderful, wonderful way to end this session today. And we really pray that in your home, I hope you'll never even have to experience jealousy. And if there is an experience of jealousy, I hope that both spouses would really want to address that so that this is an emotion that no spouse will have to suffer.
Yeah.
So let me ask my wife to ask the Lord's blessing upon us today.
And the Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you. The Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you his peace. Through Christ our Lord. Amen. God bless you.
You have been listening to Married to an Angel, hosted by Reverend Dr. Stephen and Reverend Lorna Mendoza of Revival Mission, number 4, George Street, Laramie. This program is sponsored by Gen Rev Enterprises Limited of 21 to 23 Keith Street in San Fernando. For quality roll-on and roll-off vehicles, they can be contacted at 653-6648. Remember, you can be an angel to your spouse.